good day. Welcome to my show, The Prompt. Life is about asking the right questions. AI is about the right prompts. Today, we have the perfect person to answer all the questions that I am going to ask to him on AI. He's somebody who's built large technology services companies. He's an educator. He serves on large boards. He's an investor. And most importantly, he's a very curious person and a fun person. Let me introduce somebody who really doesn't need an introduction in the business world, but my guest today on the prompt is Mr. CP Gurnani. CP, welcome to the podcast. This is the prompt, and I'm sure today you'll be able to do better than Gen AI, Chat GPT, Claude. Everybody, you'll give us the right answer.
I mean, my favorite is still DigiYatra because I end up using that app the most.
See the sense of humor, but let me dive in. CP, you really transformed Tech Mahindra. You led it to its growth while you were the CEO. Tech Mahindra went from strength to strength, and you led digital transformation of your own company and, of course, your clients. We're on the cusp of the Gen AI and AI revolution really taking over the world, singularity happening faster than everybody predicted. How is India doing on the AI score? Are we doing well? Are we doing very well? How are we doing?
You know, for me, the wake-up call that AI and Indian IT services are integrated came in when Vishal Sikka, when he was the CEO of Infosys, Infosys invested in OpenAI. To me, the next realization that AI is here to stay is when UAE had their Minister of IT in 2017.
Minister of AI.
Minister of AI. It is also coincidental that around that time I visited China and I, being an Indian, ended up bargaining and had no choice but to, agree that I had made a counter offer and the vendor had agreed. And I was trying to get out of it. So I said, listen, I don't have the currency. I can pay only digitally because I thought it was a transaction which no trader wanted it in the books. And the trader said,
Fine.
yeah, I'm fine. So for me, that 2016-17, that you could buy an apple digitally or you could do a fake Mont Blanc digitally just showed that technology, the train started much earlier. Now, fast forward in 2026, we are having this mega AI Impact Summit. We have, invested a lot in AI. Our even recent financial budget in India has something for the farmer. But I think there is still a lot more to be done.
Sure. And CP, because you were at Tech Mahindra and you did well, look at the stock price, look at the numbers. You know the IT services domain really well, as well as somebody because you led a large company. What is the future of IT services companies in the era of AI? If coding is machine generated, if AI is going to get to a proficiency and singularity happening in the next 1-2 years, what is the role of IT services company? What will happen to a TCS, Infosys, Tech Mahindra? What will happen to these companies?
I think data speaks for itself, Annurag. The data is clearly saying it. We don't have to go into wait for Anthropic and cloud to happen. We don't have to wait for an autonomous car and an autonomous driving in a taxi in San Francisco to tell you that AI is now so sophisticated that you could actually rent a taxi in California. Data is showing that last 3 years, if you were an investor and if you had invested in Persistent or in KPIT, your returns would be far more superior. Incidentally, both the companies are from Pune, which was my home for many, many years.
I know you're biased toward Pune, Nagpur, and that region. You seem to be a little biased.
It's just the food is great. And so anyway, coming back to this part, that Persistent and KPIT have outperformed every other player. It only shows that you need to go under the hood. KPIT sold their services arm to Birlasoft. KPIT only went into a niche and they bought IPs in automobile as a service. So my point is very simple. Persistent is for deep tech. So the Indian IT industry, I have a lot of respect for Indian IT industry because they're resilient. They tend to be determined about, reorienting themselves. And if you see all the announcements in the recent past, Wipro is talking about risk management and government. TCS is talking about X dollars of revenue coming out of AI. And clearly HCL Tech is talking about building IP. So they're resilient organizations. But I think there is a lesson for all of us that we need to embrace deep tech, we need to embrace applications, we need to embrace domain, and it is not about being one more guy trying to sell data center services.
Sure. And you put your money where your mouth is, what you're saying. You started Aionos. Tell us the story behind the name. It's a native AI company. I know what Aionos means. You explained to me, but for our viewers, give us why you started Aionos, why it happened. You were very passionate about education, having been a founding member of Plaksha, having been a founding member of Mahindra University. You were also chairman of IIM Nagpur. And you could see where the world is headed, what skills are needed, right? So give a sense of where is Aionos headed. You started it almost 2 years back in April. It'll be 2 years. December 2023, you relinquished your role as the CEO of Tech Mahindra, and in April 2024, you started this. Give us your story about Aionos and where is it headed?
I think that old American saying, I can give credit to my wife, that American saying is, you married me for breakfast, you married me for dinner, but not for lunch. So I think that's where Annu reminded me when I retired. The second part is very clear, is that, I've always been a Karam Yogi. For me, I started investing, and pardon my crude words, for all these entrepreneurs, I think they wanted my money and I wanted my Rolodex. And I kind of wanted to play a little more involved role, a little more active role. I don't think entrepreneurs, at a 1% owner or a 0.5% owner of a company or 2%, I had limited role to play in their companies. And I'm glad that I learned that in the first few months of my life.
I learned that too.
So that is number one. Thank you very much. If I have to leverage my Rolodex and if I have to leverage my money. And number third is, if I have to build a company where I continue to be a Karam Yogi, then I would rather put money where my mouth is. And it was also coincidental that, Interglobe Enterprises, Rahul Bhatia, he and I had a few meals together. And, as per Rahul Bhatia, he wanted to build a company because he sold Interglobe Technologies and he had
seller's remorse, I think.
Yeah, that's what he said. Seller's remorse, or he wanted to build IGT 2.0. In my opinion, I had enough time to reflect, which was 3 months, to look at what a new age tech company from India would look like. And obviously, AI was uh, not only staring at us, but it was also very clear is that we will have to use AI not as artificial intelligence, but as applied intelligence. So I'm glad that uh, even to name the company, I went to one of the famous LLMs and said, OS means it's the heart of the company. AI means applied intelligence. What would I name the company? And trust me, my naming ceremony of my grandchildren was more involved than this one because this took only 12 minutes. At 12 minutes later, we had Aionos, which means everlasting in Greek.
By the way, you should use my friend Darpan's company called atom.com when you start. It's the world's largest naming company, and it's growing very fast based out of Chicago. But going back to AI, you've always been a champion for building while you headed a services company, which did very well. You always said that what India needs product and scale. Consistently over the last 15 years, I've seen it in your conversations, both off the camera and on the camera, that you always said that we need to build a product company and we need to build it at scale. Is that happening in India?
A lot of it, yes and no. The reason is very simple that most of us do not pick up the cues and follow them through. So I'll give you an example. How come the best execution man in the world called Rajiv Memami is running EY? Why is he not running India Memami? I'm just putting a name out here.
Sure, and
You know,
he's done really well.
and Sanjeev Krishnan is running PwC. He is not running SK Consulting. I mean, the point I'm trying to make out here is that we have some of the best brains in the world. They are the ones who come and create a Zomato. They are the ones who come and create a Swiggy. Even a 21-year-old or 23-year-old now creates a Zepto. And all I'm asking now is, why am I buying services from international firms? Why is it that there is no Indian firm which is international?
Sure.
Basically on consulting and advisory, basically on audit practices. It's not that because none of us is thinking globalization or scale. The reality is that in automobiles, we have been able to prove that a Suzuki would be nothing if it was not for Maruti Suzuki. We have been able to prove that a Mahindra EV, which I drive, and I drive it with a lot of pride, that EV9e that I drive is probably better than any Tesla in the world. Now the question again is, can I scale and be able to sell it into 90 countries? Similarly, I can keep giving you examples. How come that all the power of my pharmaceutical industry is only in generics? And all I'm now saying is AI as a technology will help you
To leapfrog and actually.
to leapfrog in globalization, to leapfrog in creating that vision of scale and agility. So I think our Prime Minister thinks big. We have to respond in better execution. We have to respond in being able to punch our weights.
Brilliant. You talked about Zepto founders, they're 23 and around that age. You're well past 23. Do you think the next product company in AI will be built by somebody like you who's above 60? Why do you think you can, build a product company in AI? Look at the average of age of founders in AI is really around 30. So
I know thank God I didn't come to you for investment. So I can only say once in a while experience counts. My experience is it should be a motivation for that 23-year-old. That experience of being able to take a 5,000 people company and grow it to 168,000 people company. And I promise you, the average age of my company, despite my age, would still be more like 25. So I'm going to work with youngsters. I don't deny the power of youth and particularly the young talent in India.
and I'm told you've been meeting some young founder recently and trying to kind of experience what they are doing.
I always believe in reverse coaching,
Reverse mentoring.
reverse mentoring. So I always have, even today, we have this group of people in the company called Forerunners. I have formal meeting with them every 15 days. They are the ones who tell me whether I am on the right track or wrong. The only place where they've given me advice that I need to lose 15 kgs, I haven't followed it, and I promise you, the rest, everything else I follow. Or I debate it with them of why I will not follow. But once we agree to a plan, and similarly,
And
I don't stop my learning. My learning is very simple, that every time I meet a youngster, I am learning from them how do they transform a retail industry, how they do transform
PFSI.
every
Auto.
industry. I mean, the fact is, insurance onwards, every industry can be disrupted. Every time you go into a hotel, have you ever noticed checkout has got zero time because they have your credit card, but check-in is still even if for VIPs like you, the check-in is still five minutes. Even if somebody comes, they still want your ID, they want everything before they hand over the key to you. So my question is, why can't I change it? In this world, similarly, we have seen an airline. Why did I use the word Digiyatra as my favorite? Because in a regulated environment like India, if a CISF, the airport authority, the Delhi police or the local police and the airline and the other 2-3 agencies that are involved, whether it is SITA, MEDS, I mean, the infrastructure backbone, if they can collaborate and your face can become a passport for you to go in, why is it that 90% of our applications do not have that convenience? Try checking into a hospital, try checking out of a hospital. And then you would realize, look at the 5 crore backlog in our legal system. Where are we using our AI? So yeah, these are the questions that I ask my youngsters also.
So is Aionos focused on these sectors?
My focus is on TTLH, which is travel, transport, logistics and hospitality. The second focus is on telecom, because telecom is the one that has disrupted itself the maximum in the recent past without all of us realizing it. That they are able to keep the lights on or during all the COVID is the credit that goes to the intelligent networks and the network operation that they are running. Similarly, if the unit cost of telecom in India is the lowest in the world, is because they deploy technology. Similarly, all complex industries, I mean, I'm definitely working on them. And I'm not saying I will not work on healthcare or I'll not work on BFSI, but I had to have anchor customers. When you build a mall, you always go to a McDonald's and you always go to a Louis Vuitton, because you know once they come in, the other customers will also come in. I'm following the same principle.
And I assume it's a product company, you're building products.
I am
And it's not a services company. Of course, implementation and services go hand in hand when you're a product, but primarily building a product company, right?
I would say it is more of a building a product platform and providing services on it. So, for example, if I'm building customer service, I mean, it will be human plus the customer. Similarly, when I look at the SaaS companies, whether it is SFDC or SAP or ServiceNow, my focus is that I reduce the cost of ownership of SFDC because I integrate the platform. So it's a data harmonization, it's a data orchestration. In the process, I can reduce your cost of ownership because my platform, Uniweave, will work with you.
Good. Now, there's a lot said about. I started by asking you, how's India doing? And we said we're working towards the right direction, but we have a long way to go. And possibly we should have started early, right? And again, there are 5 areas within the AI value chain where you can make an impact. Where do you think India has the biggest chance of being successful? Is it in infrastructure? Is it in application services? Is it in product? Is it in domain integration? Where is the chance? Where do you think we have the best chance to succeed as a company, as a country?
I think, so let's go back into infrastructure. On the infrastructure side, don't think our chipsets at this stage would be ready. And we are like 10 years away from, because the current level of our semiconductors that we are planning to produce will be good for mass consumer items. They'll be good for specific items, but not for that heavy compute. Now, coming back, I think the straight answer is very simple, that if we only focus on India incorporated is equal to data, 1.4 billion people is equal to the level of data that we have, whether it is for education, whether it is for health, whether it is for life sciences, whether it is for manufacturing. I mean, at every set, the amount of data that we are generating, and if we are able to do the harmonizing and orchestration that I've been preaching, think about it. The same country was a net exporter of COVID vaccines. We did 2 experiments. We had the largest COVID vaccine manufacturing plant in the world. Adar Poonawala made his fortune.
Again, going back to Pune.
I will always go to Pune. Now this time I'll take you to Hyderabad now. Krishna Ila. Krishna Ila produces vaccine with his R&D, with the government R&D also. And that vaccine withstood all strains of the COVID-19. Now my point is very simple, is that if you use that data set to now start saying that I will be a producer of new tech bio drugs, then we are now talking about not being just a supplier of, the generics. We are now talking about redefining the market, because it's my data, it is my case studies, and whether I have a heart disease. I mean, nobody can forget that I grew up in Rajasthan and the breakfast is jalebi and kachori. I mean, that is what they give you for breakfast. Now, sooner or later, I mean, it is going to clog your arteries. So the point again is that is my drug going to not only serve me, but can it serve the world? Can I follow the Krishna Ila example? I have a close friend of mine called Vivek Wadhwa, whom you have met. He is a year older than me. Because he lost his wife to cancer, he decided to set up a diagnostics company. And where his hardware is being developed? It is IIT Madras. Where his AI is being developed? It is being developed in India. And what is the aim? By 2030, he should be able to detect cancer for less than 100 rupees. Because he's using absolutely new technology, and everything is being done right here in India, in IIT Madras, in AIIMS Delhi, and in different universities in India.
Brilliant. the future sounds optimistic when I talk to you, and that's not the case today. Whenever I've spoken to you, and I know you will deliver on what you say. Uh, Now, let me shift gears. You're clearly saying that India's leap in the last 10, 12 years in terms of the digital public infrastructure, our leap when it came to COVID vaccines, COVID, that augurs well because we have our own data sets. So that can help us leap forward. But two of the things that always seem to be things that can improve. One is we are so focused on numbers and not outcomes. Second is the need for patient capital. We need a lot of capital to build something. I mean, like Silicon Valley, where there is abundant capital. What do you have to say to this? Our need for quantity over quality, and the second is, are we getting the right money in terms of backing us to build companies that will take on the giants in the US or in Europe?
I don't think capital is a constraint in India anymore. Number two, I think what is a constraint is a mindset of building for growth, building for to scale, and being agile. I mean, our best brains. I mean, I'm a huge admirer of what some of our people have achieved, and so it is not that Sun Pharma or Ajanta Pharma, they spend a ton of money on R&D. But I don't think they've taken that bold bet of saying that they will now create a drug for ABC. So companies which have done so well, Indian IT industry which has done so well in servicing about 130 countries, I think this time has come. And there are companies, it is not that we don't have it, but they wait for the exit, for some Cisco to buy them or some Microsoft to buy them. I mean, the only companies which has probably still continued to build, we are all still dependent. Let's assume that the Atmanirbhar Bharat is available today, and tomorrow, President Trump does what he did to China. He stopped even Google to give them Android. Huawei today has a trifold system which no Apple has got, no Samsung has got, and they've been in the market for 2 years with their trifold. If you look at it purely from a piece of hardware, a Huawei phone is far superior and at least 3 years ahead of any other phone, any other smartphone. And what does it run on? It runs on a native Chinese operating system. So my question again is to myself. I am a guy who has to solve that if tomorrow my email system cannot work on Outlook, what is an alternative to me? If tomorrow my
Zoho?
Yeah, sure, I am willing to accept it. But why only Zoho?
Sure. I mean,
Similarly, you know that Zoho came up with this alternative to WhatsApp. Why you couldn't migrate? Because the network effect
is missing.
That network effect requires investment and patience. I think that is where we will have to.
And so more patient capital.
Yeah,
capital is there, it needs to get more patient.
That is, I agree on that part and couldn't have agreed more. I'm just saying capital is not a problem. But then that means we as a promoters need to explain it to our investors also. Na?
Sure. And what about our focus on numbers, volume, quantity, not so much on outcomes? I mean, you are somebody who understands training, education, skilling. Again, in Indian skilling, over the last few years, more than a decade, we focused on, we've done so much numbers of skilled people, but where are they? Right? So what do we do when it comes to AI? How do we get it right? The fact that we'll have some companies which will change the landscape of AI in India and perhaps globally.
Annurag, I am as much to blame as a person who has been associated with education industry. Even today, the measurement of universities is placements. Measurement is on number of papers published. The measurement is on number of PhDs. The measurement is still about, you know, the balance sheet number, that what is the fees intake and what is an output. So I'm saying I am to be blamed as much. Uh, you know, I haven't been to Israel now for 4 years, but to get my oxygen as an entrepreneur, I used to always go to Israel for a few days. And now that I'm sitting with you, I'll probably promise you the 26 onwards, I'll again start doing it.
And take me there. I haven't been there in 10 years.
All right, so let's go. Let's make a deal. I will definitely go in June.
Done. I'm coming with you in June.
Okay, so now why did I go to why do I always go to Israel? When I go and meet an entrepreneur, he talks about his New York listing. He talks about consumption by the Israeli defense or the Israeli agriculture. He talks about more as an output of success in terms of what impact they will make. I do believe that our people also are now starting to, talk in terms of IPOs, but I still believe that there is a lot more to be done in terms of outcome. So whether it is our policies or whether it is our measurement index, India is a country. If you appoint an officer, you start saying, where is my room? Who all will report to me? The input matrix takes so much of time thinking about, how we are going to do it. I very rarely come across people who come to you and talk to you in output and then say, I will make it work, because that entrepreneurial mindset and output measurement mindset, I think we need to bring it a little more into our ecosystem.
Okay. I think you're absolutely right. I agree that we have to be focused on, we have to dream bigger, which I must say Indian entrepreneurs are dreaming big. Look at Mahindra, it's dreaming big. Of course, it's doing well in India, but it's doing well outside India. New startups that start and within 1 or 2 years they are thinking of, especially in tech, because they know the ARPUs are better there, the revenue to the multiple that you get for IPO is better there. So they've started to think global. It's happening.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing that Prime Minister Modi has done is to build brand India very well, and to give that confidence that we can do it. When he stands up and says Startup India, he's saying that you can start a company and not worried about failure. Mm-hmm. I think that has started to happen. Mm-hmm. Now let me go to another area which I think you're uniquely positioned to talk to us about. It's the collaboration between academia and industry. Because that is what produced the Y Combinator. Y Combinator then produced multiple companies, including Sam Altman and ChatGPT. I mean, in some way, you've been on boards of educational institutions, you started 2 educational institutions. Do you think it's happening well in India? I mean, you talked about IIT Madras in the context of Vivek Wadhwa. There is IIT Mumbai, which is producing good startups. But we have a long way to go. What is your view?
So let's take the good examples. Good examples, as you rightly put. Even at Wadhwani Foundation, we found
you're on the global board of the Wadhwani Foundation.
So doing work with IIT Kanpur or IIT Bombay is a dream. With Vivek Wadhwa, working with IIT Madras, IIT Kharagpur, I think it's, very receptive. Where you have to take into account that we have hundreds of colleges and hundreds of universities. Now, where we are sitting, if you throw a stone around, you will find maybe 60 institutes. Now, those 60 institutes, out of them, 57 have no industry collaboration. I think if we don't solve this, and if we don't solve real life case studies, trust me, anything which is routine, AI will do. So, if we are not going to have those universities anticipating the future and not working with not only the industry, but the thought leaders. Somebody is defining it. So, just to give you a simple example, my grandson loves dogs. He is not even 2 years old. And I asked him before one of my travels, what do I get you? He said, no, buy me a dog. Obviously, I didn't want to buy him a dog. So I wrote a query, furry dog, automated, robotic, that will go and pick up a ball when I throw the ball. I didn't get one answer. Because either you have, dogs which will do whatever, dancing and whatever, they will probably hand their paw to you. But there was one mechanical kind looking dog which will do everything, but it was not picking up the. And then I'm talking to myself that from a technology perspective, this is an easy problem to solve.
And why isn't it being solved?
And why is it not being solved? That means unless we get into that mindset of curiosity, of learning, or what Steve Jobs calls stay hungry, stay foolish, we are not solving the problems. This I just took a 2-year-old kid's point of view. We can go to a 100-year-old's point of view. There are enough use cases around us, and India's success story is leveraging that 1.4 billion people and solving those problems and then globalizing them.
Brilliant. Now let me go back to AI again. There's too much talk about AI ethics, AI governance. Are the guardrails for AI there?
No.
Because you saw what happened with the leading AI services provider, product provider, the Indian researcher who was the head of AI ethics resigned, saying, it's not being followed.
So, I look at it a different way. It's like if I were to advise a 20-year-old today, what specialization should he have, I would tell him cybersecurity. Why? For a simple reason. If all ordinary jobs will be done by AI, and if somebody has to be the guard, so that person, if he focuses on cybersecurity, because data, somebody has to manage it. Somebody has to realize that hackers will still have a field day. So to me, what you say is 100% right. All I'm now saying is there are enough opportunities for all of us if we anticipate, whether it is quantum computing, whether it's cybersecurity, whether it is services to the data center, whether it is training the caregivers, because all of us know that Elon Musk is not 100% wrong when he says most of us would be jobless.
Absolutely. He's absolutely right. And he's been proven right on a lot of things. Now let me focus on, do we need an AI ministry? A ministry for AI? The government is set up a quantum mission. A former entrepreneur who built a large IT services company is helping the government in that. The government is not just playing the role of...
There you didn't ask a 23-year-old.
Yes.
I mean, I know.
He's older than you.
Because quantum mission is not being run by a 23-year-old. Okay.
Don't give the Prime Minister ideas,
I mean, he himself will show his age certificate.
But he's very, very dynamic. So, right,
Yeah.
you said in the past that, what matters is experience in the interview. What matters is your curiosity and how hungry you are. Mm-hmm. If you really want to be determined to make an impact, you'll find a way. But coming back to this, do we need a ministry of AI?
I am individually against too much of government. The reason is that I saw this happening in skill development. As I said, it's a subject close to my heart. You had a Ministry of Skill Development, you had Ministry of Labor, you had Ministry of Education, you had Ministry of Employment, God knows what all ministries.
And Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship, it was called.
Right? So, and you had Ministry of Education, whatever. Now, my point is that it's good to bring in a focus because you have these ministries, but if these ministries don't talk to each other, to me, it is a ministry of execution that is the most important. If every railway ministry says 30% of my technology budget is going to be used in AI, if defense starts saying, I will reduce the cycle time of buying new technology to 6 weeks, to me, that is the way. Because mortgage processing used to take 6 months, it now happens in 6 hours,
In some cases, faster.
even
Using-
faster. So why can't the new technology purchasing be faster? So my point is that if we start looking at output, I would rather focus on Ministry of Execution, not on Ministry.
Brilliantly said. I think what matters is execution. And I must say, this government, Prime Minister Modi is good at execution. The success is there for you to see, and the government also thinks on scale, acts on scale, and thinks 10, 20, 30 years ahead. Now, let me come to implementation of AI. Which are the sectors which you think are low hanging fruits for AI? BFSI, auto. You've seen there is a legal product that was launched, and you've seen what has happened to legal services in the last 1 week, right? How it's been lapped up. Which are the sectors in, of course, healthcare, diagnostics? Which are the sectors which are really low hanging fruits for adoption?
You know, I would go back again. I'm a huge admirer of Prime Minister Modi, and I want AI to help Prime Minister Modi to bring in some of his projects into reality much faster. So, for example, I mean, if it is water, mission for water, I think AI can help a lot in being able to help take decisions in not only the content. I mean, these are big subjects, so I don't want to go into the details, but I potentially believe that there are 50 use cases which Prime Minister wants us to achieve. We have to respond to him, whether it is health, whether it is water, whether it is pollution, or whether it is legal, or whether it is police records, or whether it is citizen services. I think AI has minimum 50 use cases where we could do a lot better by anticipating. I mean, just a temple administration, by regulating the crowd and using Vision Express, I think we can help in avoiding a disaster. So my mission is very simple, that all those 50 use cases, we need to come back with the solutions. AI is helping us give the solution. Yeah, sure. Like when you design a car, you design it doesn't matter which car, accelerator, a clutch and a brake. We will have to design a solution with the same accelerator, clutch and brake. But back to my favorite topics, speed and scale.
And agility. You keep talking about agility.
Speed, agility,
Yeah. So
yeah.
let me try and wrap up this conversation. We're talking in February 2026. If I talk to you in 6 months, and these days you have to think in months rather than years, what would have Aionos achieved?
For me, I am at about 2,000 AI specialists today. I would strongly believe that if the solutions that we have developed, and we have spent a lot of money in developing some of the solutions on data monetization, on data orchestration, and customer services on the cloud, I think if I'm able to convert these from 10 customers to 30 customers in 6 months, and those 30 customers becoming my reference customers, I think I can then say that the 65 plus young man has still got juice.
Brilliant. I totally believe you, having seen you. You're a people's person, and you're very curious, you're at it. You are a Karam Yogi, You said it, but I would say the same for you. Let me ask you, who are the people in AI that you look for inspiration globally or in India?
This list could be very long. The reason the list is very long is because it's not one person. The reality is that, you know, on the top of the heap are the usual people who run Google because their labs are some of the best labs in the world. Elon Musk, because even if he's wrong, but he's only wrong by 30 to 40%, his space missions and whatever that you've seen. So I would go to them for learning. Similarly, I do look at some of the Indian and all the 9 or 10 people that have been selected by AI mission to build the infrastructure. They're all very bright people. Uh, Personally, I think there is a power in some 16-year-old and 18-year-old. So it's not only one Mr. Suryavanshi playing cricket. There are a lot of people who do
There's
AI.
a 13-year-old who's building a healthcare company using AI.
So I think there is a ton of people that I would go to, but there is a uniform trend in them. The uniform trend in them is that they work backwards from a problem and then come back and come with a solution. They don't go and say, I will automate this process. The common trait is they always reimagine.
Okay. I remember when Sam Altman was there and you were at an event, you asked him and he kind of mocked Indians or Indian capabilities. There's a Chinese company which showed us that it's not about number of years or amount of resources or the money that you raise to build something. It is about innovation in the true sense. Do you think because of that, India has a chance to produce something that may surprise the world?
I mean, even, you've seen a few launches in the last. So, first is Sam Altman. I accepted the challenge, and I have all my gratitude to the Tech Mahindra team, which actually accepted the challenge on my behalf, even on the date of my retirement. And since you remember birthdays, I chose to retire on December 19th, and they presented to me a beta model of multiple Indian languages LLM. That is the language model which has got selected by Ministry of IT, and you know that Prime Minister had a meeting with all these people that were selected, and I was very proud to see some of my ex-team members presenting the same model to the Prime Minister of India.
Brilliant. My last question. A lot of AI pioneers are talking about the risks of AI. They're talking about AI warfare. They're talking about scenarios which are straight out of Hollywood movies. What do you have to say for that?
All risks are real. And frankly, there are risks that you and I have not even imagined.
Absolutely.
So, I'm convinced that while you need a Ministry of Execution, you also need a Ministry of Risk Management. And the reason is that all these risks are real. It is not that none of them, and as a matter of fact, that when you talk about singularity, what are we talking about? Execution at the exponential level.
In fact, even Eric Schmidt has said in the next 2-3 years, not only singularity will happen, but machines will do hugely better than human beings.
So my point again, you and I are saying the same thing, that Hollywood movies are right, Hollywood imagination is right, and number 3 is risks are right. Whatever trust and guardrails that we build, somebody is there to break. So I do believe that it's an opportunity for us to anticipate. While India's opportunity is in use cases and applications and the layer which impacts everybody, I think cybersecurity and risk management is another huge opportunity because it requires both manual and machine intelligence to work together.
Thank you, CP, for talking to me. I hope the prompts that you have initiated or the ones that you answered will see the right thoughts in the pioneers and entrepreneurs in the AI space and hopefully help us build AI capabilities in the world as a nation. The AI Impact Summit is there. I'm sure you're also there. So we are moving in the right direction by bringing the collective consciousness. And our conversation, I hope, reaches the policymakers and the Ministry of Education, Ministry of Execution, and the Ministry of Responsibility and Risk Management also happen. So all the best in building Aionos.